First episode of Wonderful Every Day, new podcast by Pickwick Studios here. This is Andrew. I'm Tommy. And here we are. We're wonderful every day. We're creating new stories. We're learning new stories from different people. So should be a lot of fun and, a lot of joy and excitement. And yeah, should be an adventure.
Yeah, definitely. I'll bring the simple monotone bullshit voice to the party.
Mm-hmm. I'm down for that. So the first episode is actually called it's about mascots. My former life was a mascot in the sports world. We're just gonna be casual and talking about it and talking about some fucked up stories and some crazy stuff, some fun stuff, and all of it. So yeah.
Hell yeah. What do you think what was your favorite part of being a mascot? And obviously, you know what's coming next after that question.
My favorite part was being able to go into every day. I woke up and you could create different things, and anything was possible, from creating costumes to skits, all that kind of stuff. And everything was just anything was, like I said, anything was possible. There wasn't constrictions to anything. And the creative part of creating different videos and all that stuff and creating a character, that was really, really exciting. So,
all right. Least favorite part?
At first, I think at the end, it was kind of performing in the costume kind of got old after a while. But at the beginning, I don't know. I mean, it was all pretty exciting at the beginning, to be honest. The least exciting part was being in jobs. Every 6 months, you're kind of in a new role, and that's just kind of how the sports world works. And it's very, ever changing, basically, and very seasonal, obviously, based on baseball seasons, hockey seasons, whatever. So, yeah, I would say just the changing of time, because that messes with your psyche, too. When you're you're working your ass off for 6 months, and then it's okay, boom, it's over. And then you're just oh, where am I going to go next kind of thing. And that's tough.
So you only had a character every 6 months, kind of, and
right.
Then after the season was over, do you move on and take another job, or do you keep that job until the next season, or
you try to? And because especially I was in minor league baseball for 3 years, and a little bit here, I'll list off all the characters I was in and go into all those stories. But you try to, but after the summer, if you're in baseball, there's not a lot of jobs in hockey and basketball and stuff. Sometimes it's hit or miss, and you're just trying to pick up jobs. I mean, a lot of those jobs too are just game based. So they're paying you $50 a game, and it's here you go, here's your cash, and out the door. So that's shit. After a while, you're okay, I got to pay bills. I got, bills to pay and things to do, and just not bringing in the money. So yeah, it was definitely a tough life. I'm not going to lie, but
yeah, it doesn't seem like that would do very much to pay the bills. Did you have a second job while you were doing it, or were you doing this kind of through school and stuff like that, or?
So how it started was I went to Bradley University, and I went down there. I started in 2012 and graduated in 2014 in December. And the first semester I was down there, I came from a small town in Dixon, which was 16,000 people at the time. And not a ton of opportunity for stuff like that. It was very, very out and heading towards Iowa, out in the sticks a little bit. And so I was down there and landed an internship with the Riverman, because I studied it was called sports communication, but it was basically journalism and sports studies and that kind of thing. I landed this internship with the Riverman, and it was an unpaid internship, but it was just working in the office. So you were a front office intern, and I would I would be in the office for 2 days a week, and doing data entry for ticket sales and that kind of stuff. And then in games would sell chuck-a-pucks in game, and that was basically you would buy a bag of pucks, and in a second intermission you throw the pucks on the ice, and if it landed on one of the squares, you win the promotion. And at the time there was the guy who was the mascot was this dude who was like a kind of a community sales like relations person who like sell community appearances and kind of helped with ticket sales too a little bit here and there, and was the mascot during the games. And my first my first semester down there, I was like, this guy's so cool. He's walking around with the mascot. He's walking around with all the hot ice girls. I'm like, fuck, that's cool, man. And I don't know, it was like
that life. I want that life.
Yeah. And it was just like, God damn. I'm like, and I'm sitting here like a bub selling these stupid pucks. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, so one day I'm in the office and he's like looking for somebody to do an appearance, and it's to a children's hospital in Peoria. And he's like, yeah, it's a couple of the guys. They're like, no, I can't do it. I got class. Or no, I can't do it. I got this. I'm like, shit, I'll do it. And he didn't think I think he kind of took it by surprise. And he's like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, come here this time and do it. And so I rolled with them. And it was a very it's kids that are super sick that are like kind of like on their deathbed. It was a children's hospital. So very like delicate appearance and walk around, but it was a really cool thing. And then
seems like a pretty upbeat situation you were walking.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it was like, yeah, it wasn't like you're running around crazy by any means, but it was like a first, entrance into it. And yeah, after that, I started doing more appearances for him. Like we would go to these different schools in Peoria and read this book called Z for Zamboni. It's a hockey children's book. And I would just like act it out, like each page basically. And yeah, and then a lot of times I would like skip class for it too, because I would be like, because I'd have my like journalism class, I'd be like, fuck that, I'm gonna go be the mascot. I'm gonna put on this costume, do my thing. And like it was, and the internship was unpaid, so it was like he would pay me by like getting me food. So like after every appearance, he'd get me like McDonald's, and it would be like you get paid by like 2 McChickens and 2 McDoubles and a large Coke. And that was the payment at the time. Which as like a 19, 20-year-old college kid, it's like, okay, whatever. That's I'm hungry, shit. So I'll eat it.
free food and an experience. I'll take it.
Yeah, free food, and I get to be the mascot. Sick. So yeah, at the end of the season, so with that first team, the Rivermen, they were affiliated with the St. Louis Blues, and they were the team below them in the AHL, because how every sports league has tiers of minor league players going up to the pros.
Right.
And this team was affiliated with the Blues AHL, and the owner of the Blues decided to sell the team because the Rivermen at the time, they just weren't bringing enough money, and there's just a lot of politics and financials involved where it was just like, okay, it's time to move to a different team and whatever. And that happens a lot in sports, where especially minor league teams, where it moves around and whatever for their franchise and young players and everything. And so basically it ended, and most of the front office people basically were let go. And they were let go with like maybe like a couple months notice or a month and a half notice. And a lot of them didn't even find out. Like I remember a couple people found out on fucking Twitter. Like they looked up on Twitter, like, yeah, the Peoria Rivermen just got sold. And it's like, what? Like that was some shit walking into that. But the last 2 games of the season, the guy that was the main mascot brought back the other characters, because this team had been around for like 20 years or even longer. And he had brought back 2 older characters along with myself. And yeah, I got to perform in a couple games. It was cool. The first character his name was Barry, and he was a big blue bear. So
clever.
Yeah. So he wore like a sailor's hat, like he's like captain of the boat kind of thing. So yeah, that was how it started. And yeah, it was like, and I didn't actually get back into it again until like almost a year later. I went back to that team to intern again the following summer, or the following fall. I mean, when I went back to Bradley, because like during the summer, I just worked a shitty summer jobs to make money and shit. And yeah, I went back there and interned, but they didn't want me to be the mascot. It was just more like running promotions and that kind of thing. So, yeah. And then, and then I got this opportunity through one of my teachers through school. Cause like, when you're in college and stuff, they send you like, oh, here's an internship or, an unpaid opportunity or something or whatever they could be interested in. And one of my like old advisors sent this email out to everybody about being a mascot for this company called Running Central. And Running Central was like this company that held 5Ks like in Peoria, and they had a store, like a couple of stores in Peoria and stuff. And so I was like, okay, shoot. And they were paying like $15 an hour. And this is like 2014. So at the time it's like, okay,
that's good money
for a college kid. Yeah. Because at the time, the funny story, like, obviously, I'm sure in this podcast over the next bunch of episodes, you'll find out that me and Andrew work in catering. At the time, I was working in catering, and I was working slinging weddings every other weekend, trying to make a buck. So apple doesn't fall too far from the tree here, but so $15. I was like, in the Riverman place, I never got paid. I mean, I would get intern like school credit for it, like 1 or 2 school credits for doing that. But it was like, fuck, man, I wish I could get some money in my pocket, So yeah, and it was like 15 an hour. I did it for like a couple hours in appearance. So, it was like $30 cash I would get. And I did it for a handful of times. And this character, name was Fast Cat. And he was this cat, like big like cat. And he had a big like head, and his like, you could only see out of his mouth. And the mouth was like this wide, like the size of my hand.
He was fast, right?
He was supposed to be, but he wasn't. And like, he had this giant fucking tail that like went like out from behind, like a huge like U-shaped tail. Okay. And how it went on was like, it went on like a strap, like on your shoulders, and it would Velcro. So all these people would line up before their 5K race and stretch out and stuff, be like, hey, Fast Cat, and give you high fives and whatever. And then kids and adults would be assholes. And they would yank on the tail really hard. And then it would be like, whoa, like, and then of course you couldn't Velcro it again. And it felt like it was like a 70-pound backpack on your back. That's how much it strained. It was like, holy shit. It was brutal. But it was a decent way. I mean, it was a decent way at the time to make some extra money and still get kind of experience and stuff a little bit. So as it kind of moved along, but.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'm cut out for wearing a mascot suit. I feel like it would piss me off a lot, especially with fans that are, I don't know, unruly, if you will, drunk specifically.
Yeah, that happened in my next stint was with the Peoria Chiefs. So the next team I worked with was the Peoria Chiefs in 2014, and this was after Fast Cat, because I did the Fast Cat thing for like 2-3 months, and then they were kind of like weird about sending me like events. They would like, so what they would do is they'd email me an event, but they wouldn't tell me what time it's at, or they like give me a time, but wouldn't tell me where it was at.
Crazy. Crazy. It's almost like that happens at work. Don't post that.
Yeah, we gotta cut that out. Yeah, so it's kind of deja vu a little bit, but yeah, the Chiefs was the next place, and this team was the single A affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Excuse me, they still are. And they're so the single A is like, it's like 3 steps down. So you got a triple A, double A, single A, high A, and then single A, low A. And this team was like single A, low A. And then you got down to like collegiate level and like the, those kind of, there's a ton of leagues in Major League Baseball with minor leagues. So at the time the guy that I worked for at the Riverman that got me first into the mascot thing, he was like, yeah, you should go and be Homer, because I was Homer. I'm like, okay, great. And I emailed the entertainment coordinator lady, and she was like, yeah, come in for an audition. First audition I ever do in my life. Don't know what the hell I'm doing. I put on the costume, and I'm just like, just acting a fool. I don't know. I'm just trying to do shit. And then she's like, yeah, do a dance for me or whatever. I did some it was some lame ass dance. I tried to use a chair, like I was going to straddle it and stuff, like I was in the strip club or some shit. It was pretty brutal. And I was like, well, we'll see. And then sure enough, I got the job and got hired. I think they just didn't have anybody else. I think that's just kind of how it went down.
It wasn't the dance. It was just desperation.
No, it wasn't the strip dance. That's for sure. But yeah, it just went down, and then it started working the games, and it was games and appearances, I remember, and it was like $50 a game, and you got paid like $35 per an appearance. So how baseball worked though was like you would have like a 6-game homestand, and then you'd be off for like 4 or 5 days. Maybe an appearance would be sprinkled in there, a couple or whatever. Then you'd be on for another 6 games or off, whatever. So it wasn't like a terrible schedule, but it was, had some balance to it a little bit in some ways. But yeah, that first year definitely dealt with like guys, like fans doing all sorts of crazy shit. I had this one game where a kid punched me in the nuts. I'm around all these kids, and I'm just giving them high fives, hey, and the kid went bam, popped me in the nuts, fell down, yelled fuck really loud. And I think all the kids ran away after that, after yelled fuck. Pretty sure they heard me, but
it's a family affair.
Yeah, it's a family outing. What the hell are you doing? Like, Jesus. And yeah, I used to have guys, and because they would have like a suite level too, where you paid like you pay like a couple hundred, $200-300, and you get the suite with like food and stuff. It's kind of a sweet deal.
Right.
And people would get all lit and fucked up there and drunk and shit. And guys would try to grab my crotch and my balls and see if I was a boy or girl and try to feel me up and stuff. That was a thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was yeah, there was definitely a lot of stuff. I did a lot of like costumes and stuff like that year, and learned a lot of dances through like Just Dance on YouTube and tried to like figure it out. And a lot of the question I always get out all the time whenever people hear I'm a mascot was like, does it ever get hot in there, like hot in the costume or whatever? And that year it did. And like there was one game where it was Disney Day. So like obviously I'm a big Disney fan. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to dress up like Mickey Mouse. And I had all the shit for it, right? The costume, the whole thing. And I wore this like red robe, and Homer was like all fur, like Dalmatian, but it was all fur and stuff. And it was like 100 degrees out at the ballpark that day. And the way minor league baseball works is like, there's always like promotions ongoing. And like every other inning, there's like promotions, t-shirt tosses, you name it, just to keep the fans entertained. And it got so bad that my arm just like started tingling, like I was going to have a stroke. Like yeah, that was pretty brutal that day. And it was like, it was Disney Day. So I was like, I'm not going to punk out and like not dress up like Mickey Mouse. Fuck. Like,
right. No, of course not.
Yeah. So
sorry, my cat's trying to get up here. My bad.
So yeah.
So you had, obviously there's always unruly fans. Did you ever get like, did they ever throw beer on you or food or anything like that?
I don't think I ever got beer spilled. I mean, maybe on accident. I think maybe on accident I've had beer spilled on me and stuff, but
yeah,
I had a baby puke on me once. Like I held a baby, and usually that was one of my things, right? I had certain rules as I was performing. Like I'm not gonna hold any babies, because like I'm in a costume. Like if I drop your baby, like I'll never, forgive myself for that. And like shit,
not
like
to mention it seems like a liability issue.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So like shit, like there was some random shit like that. I was like, I'm not doing that. But yeah, one time I was holding a baby with a group picture with her mom and dad, and the baby just threw up right on my thing. I was like, fuck, man. Like it was in my Iowa days. I was like, shit. And then of course had to go down and change and stuff. And that was, yeah. Yeah, but beer and all that, I mean, stuff would spill on me here and there, and I would get into some shit and whatever, but I don't know if there was anything like people would just chuck a beer bottle at me or something. Like,
the only reason I ask is I've always wondered, like, I mean, it's a mascot suit. Like, I don't think they make mascot suit like washing machines. I've just always wondered how you wash a mascot suit. It just doesn't make sense in my head.
So funny you mentioned that. So how that went down was my first year. That was my first year at the Peoria Chiefs. They didn't wash it for like the first half of the season. They just never took it to wash or anything like that. So like the dog's hands I would wear would be like black because they'd be full of sweat and dirt and stuff. Yeah,
it sounds disgusting.
Yeah. So imagine me as a dog walk up to you and be like, hey, high five, and like finger my fingers, and they're all like dirt and nasty and stuff. And then
I might throw a beer on you if you put that nastiness in my face. It
smells like sweat and shit, and because it's just like never got washed, and I was running around every game. But usually a lot of the costumes you can machine wash on like a cold wash.
Really?
Yeah, and they usually stay okay. And then what we did at the Peoria Chiefs was we had a sponsorship with a cleaning company called like Starcrest Cleaners. I don't know if they're still around, but I would take it there like every other week. And the first few times it was fine, but then like they would do it and whatever. But then after there's like the last like 2 or 3 times I took it there, it's like smelled like really funny, like how they washed it. Like not like sweat, but just something off about their soap or whatever. It was really bizarre. But yeah, there is ways to wash a costume. And then usually what I would do to clean, because like costume mascot heads and stuff like that, you can't, it's not like you're gonna be able to throw it on a washing machine and say, here you go. It's, So I would use a mixture of water and vodka. and like the shittiest vodka you could find, like at Walmart, the plastic
Martins.
bottle, the stuff that
Yeah.
burns your throat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would use that, and I called it my secret stuff, and I put it in a spray bottle and like spray it all the time. And I thought I was really cool back in the day doing that, because like all the promo girls and all these people are like, oh my god, you got Bronca in here or whatever, you're bringing alcohol to work and whatever. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am.
You know it.
You know it. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it would get cleaned over the years. But some of these characters.
I'm looking at the list here.
Mhm.
What about the dude that cleaned your suit that only ate popcorn? Because I'm curious to know that, because that's on the notes.
So that was in Mr. Shucks. So basically, the next part of my journey was, next part of the story was after the Chiefs years, I was there in 14 and 15, and that kind of stuff happened, and did some cool skits and whatever, and keg stands and sweets, and grinded up on bridesmaids, and just went crazy at times, just went all in kind of thing. I would get in trouble and shit like that too, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being Kaboom, my school's mascot. And it was me and a buddy of mine. He actually works for the Bears now. And we were like the first two in the costume. And it was the first time ever my mascot head popped off on me while I was performing. And I did this. So like I would do like soccer games and volleyball games, some basketball games. I did like 1 or 2 basketball games. And one time I'm doing the volleyball game, there's like nobody in the stands, like 20 people. And one of the things I always used to do, because I grew up playing hockey, I would roller skate. So I put on skates, and every character I was ever in skated around. Everybody thought it was really fucking cool, which whatever, I'm just roller skating, but no big deal to me. but other people thought it was cool. So I was like, all right, dope, I'm gonna keep doing it. And in this game, Kaboom, he was a gargoyle. So he had really big like feet. So I had to, what I tried doing in this game, I tried taping the feet to my hockey skates. I used hockey tape a lot in my mascot days. And so I was skating around, doing my thing, flying around this concourse, like looking cool. I'm like, you look at me, whatever. And then the tape like latches off of the foot, and it catches my wheel, and I trip and I fall, and my head just boom pops off like 10 feet. And there was like 3 kids like staring at me while it went down. And I'm like, oh shit. And I was like, I'm like a fish out of water. I'm like scrambling to put the head on. And they're like, It's okay, Kaboom. It's okay. I'm like, whoa, fuck. I mean, talk about being in like just in a total like holy shit moment. That was it. But yeah, that was that. I was only in it for a semester, because they released Kaboom in like 2014, like in like February, March. So that was when I graduated, basically in December. So I wasn't in it that long, but
Gotcha.
But yeah, that the guy that ate popcorn, that was in Cedar Rapids, and that was with a character. His name was Mr. Shucks. The team was the Cedar Rapids Colonels, and he was like the assistant clubhouse guy. And he had a room in the clubhouse, like in the corner of the clubhouse. He had this whole room. He actually kind of had a sick setup. He had like a TV, his bed, like he had this whole thing. And then he had his big ass tub of popcorn from the concession stand, because the concessions aren't going to sell all this fucking popcorn. So they just give it to him, and he would just eat it all day and all night, night and shit, laying in bed eating the popcorn. It was life, man.
Just a clubhouse manager living off of popcorn.
Yeah, he was something else. He would always wash. He'd always wash the mascot costume for me after every game.
Yeah.
So like in the Peoria days where I had to deal with like dirty hands and whatever, this guy would do it every single game. He was definitely one of a kind. Like he would, like there was days where we'd have to take him to lunch. Like in Iowa, there's like Hy-Vees like everywhere, like the grocery store. So he'd always want like Hy-Vee, like the restaurant and stuff. And yeah, and then he would always have his popcorn and do his thing. And yeah, he just ate popcorn and had his own little, lone little room and everything. And that was where he pretty much lived. So
that sounds like the life to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about that. There was a dude that lived in the ballpark and, was just there, and that was it. It's like, man, like,
I wonder if he's still kicking around over there, eating popcorn, cleaning mascot suits.
Yeah, I don't know. That was 2016. I was there. So God, that was 6 years ago now. So Yeah, I don't know, but it was funny. Cedar Rapids was like, I mean, it was a pretty good sized town, but it wasn't like huge by any means. I mean, there was a bar right across the street from the ballpark that was pretty cool. So
Mhm.
like after like every game, you pop off there and go have a few beers. And I mean, it was like every homestand. I mean, maybe not like the first game of the homestand, but the next 5, 6 games going there afterward. They got to the point where the bartender just knew what we were drinking. He'd walk in and be like, "Hey, here's your Bud, here's your Bush, here's your Budweiser, here's your," it's like a whole thing. Like, yeah, that was kind of a whole deal. But yeah, that was in Cedar Rapids too. That was where I actually lived with the host family. That was kind of a unique experience. So after the Chiefs, I had a stint with the Blackhawks for like 6 months, and I
Mhm.
didn't do any mascotting, but I taught kids how to play hockey in Chicago.
Right.
Travel to the United Center from Dixon. It was like a 2 hour drive, like a few days a week, and it was kind of a lot. But it was at the time it was when the Hawks had won their third cup, so it was like being around that team and working for them. I was like, holy shit, like
Yeah,
it's kind of real. So
for sure.
um, so then I got this job at the Colonels, and it was like, okay, it was a mascot coordinator job. So it was like the first time to really be like full-time focused, like in the office, like and performing as a mascot. Cause in the past it was just
Right.
like perform at games and appearances and that's it. And yeah, we did. I got this offer and I was like, okay, but it wasn't like a lot of money. It was like 1,500 a month at the time. And after taxes and all that, it's like, okay, but I got to get an apartment and this and that, or a room. And like, after everything, it's like, shit, like you're basically out of money.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were really cool about it, and they set me up with a host family like the players have. So the ball players, when they come in from the different countries they're from and all that, or different parts of the country, they'll live with a host family for like the
Mhm.
summer, and they basically the host families get like perks through the season, and the team, and see like a bunch of tickets and whatever, and parties and that kind of thing. Different teams had different kind of packages and accommodations for them,
Right.
and basically they just have them live in their room and all that. And that's what in Iowa what happened. So I roomed with the play-by-play announcer, this dude like around my age, and we shared this like basement. Basically, there's like 2 rooms in this basement, a really nice bathroom, and yeah, we just lived there. We had our own private entrance. There was like a man-made lake in the back of these people's houses. They had a laundry and everything. Didn't pay a dime for rent. Just took care of food and my gas, and that was it
That sounds legit.
for like 6 months. And not only that, my host mom at the time, she would like do like wash my sheets and stuff like every couple weeks. Like my blankets and sheets, they would all be
Right.
washed and like folded and stuff. You'd come home and it'd just be, cleaned and
God.
folded and shit. It was crazy, man. It was definitely a life. Like, and there was like a little kitchenette in their basement too. So like a microwave and stuff if you didn't want to eat out like every single night or whatever.
Yeah.
But there was in Iowa, there was a lot of options for stuff like different restaurants and Hy-Vee. And there's certain out there too where it was like certain restaurants that are definitely prime. And it was by Cedar Rapids is by like Iowa City. So like University of Iowa and all that. That's that
Mhm.
kind of neck of the woods. So,
Right.
but yeah,
Dude,
basically,
that sounds like the life.
yeah,
Get your
yeah.
sheets washed. Don't have to pay
Ever
for
if
rent.
you ever get a chance to live with a host family, you should do it because
I want to
it's
do it right
pretty.
now, and I've got a wife and kid.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely different. And it was weird because I never met them, right? I met the coordinators, like the host family coordinators, like before I started the season, like a few months before I moved out there. And
Right.
then literally met these people the day I moved out there. And talk about a weird like interaction. It was like I got my bag of clothes and my computer and all this shit. And I'm like, yep, hi, I'm Tommy. I'm moving into your house now for 6 months. I know this is awkward. I'm the
I might
mascot
be a
though, so
weirdo,
look at
but
me.
welcome.
Welcome. Like, don't worry, I'll be quiet. I won't make noise.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
it would have been really cool if your host family was like super weird. Like super weird. Maybe sex dungeon. I don't know. Maybe something crazy. I mean, maybe obviously I don't not serial killer status. That would be bad. But yeah, sex dungeon, or maybe they're like super religious and like don't let you do anything on Sundays. That would be hilarious.
You have to just sit in your room the whole time. You don't get to go anywhere.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. They no matter what, the host family's probably not as weird as that guy you were telling me about in the Santa suit, or for the guy you're the clown, the clown, the clown.
The clown. So the clown. So part of being the mascot over the years was, you'd have different promotions and themes, and all about being a character was about, hey, this is my character. How do I make it the most popular person in this ballpark, in this stadium for this team, and most popular person on the team or character on the team? So there's always different themes and promotions, and like, okay, I'm gonna do this skit, this costume, I'm gonna make this video, I'm gonna do this. And that's why the creativity part was so exciting. So that time in Iowa in 2016, I always had ideas like from like the Peoria days that I was like, oh, I didn't get to do that. But then in Iowa, I did. And then there's stuff in Mr. Shucks and the Iowa and Cedar Rapids days where I was like, oh, I didn't get to do that. But then I did that later on in another job. So it was weird kind of how that worked. But at this one, they had a Christmas in July game. So I'm like, okay, sick. I'm going to be Santa. They had all these old promotions and they're like, down in their clubhouse and their, locker rooms and stuff, just like little like giveaways over the years that they never gave away. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to wrap these up as presents and give them away to kids and stuff. That's going to be awesome. Like in between innings and shit. It's going to be really cool. Yeah. So trying to find a Santa costume. There was this costume dealer in Cedar Rapids that my boss was working with. He's like, yeah, go to this guy. We've gone to him before, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. And his name was Sparkles, and Sparkles the clown. And he would like,
red flag, by the way, red flag.
Yeah. Pretty red flag. But at the time, like, fuck it. I just need a costume and whatever. Yeah. So I go there and it's his wife that's, dressing me up, and it's a whole red velvet Santa costume. God, it looked great. I mean, it's just really, really good on him. And I had the whole costume, like my mascot thing on and everything. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, it's going to be, and my budget was only like, I think like $45-50 because it was, in minor league sports and everywhere I worked, there was never a budget for anything. It was always like pennies on a dollar, always going to Goodwill and Salvation Army to find stuff, basically. So she's like, yeah, it's going to be $125. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to take the whole costume and just taking the jacket. Like, that was really it. And she's like, oh, I got to talk to my husband, blah, 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 about it and see. So like the next 2 weeks,
her husband Sparkles.
Sparkles, right, correct.
Sparkles.
Yeah, Sparkles. Yeah. So I'm back and forth with Sparkles the next like 2 weeks, and back and forth on the phone. Like, hey, can you get me at like 75? Well, I got to talk to my wife about it. And then at one point he brings up his mom. He's like, I got to talk to my mom about it. I'm like, that's fucking weird. I'm like, why do you, like, isn't it your business? Why do you got to talk to your mom about it? It's a Santa.
What?
Like, it's a Santa jacket for like, I'm going to wear it for like 2 hours. Like, who gives a shit? The guy was really, really weird. And so one day we're doing a parade in Cedar Rapids, and of course I'm wearing my roller skates because I'm skating around this parade and whatever. And I get back in our mascot van, and Sparkles comes up, and he's driving one of those little Shiner cars, a beep beep, and like the little motor cars. He pulls up to us in the van. And he's like, yo, Shucks. He's like, give me a call on Monday about that Santa costume. And I'm still in full character, like just doing the mannerisms and stuff. I'm like, okay. And my boss is like, Shucks, that was the weirdest thing ever. That was like a drug deal or something that just went down.
Oh,
and
man.
It ends up happening that he wouldn't budge off of like $75 to rent this like Santa jacket. And I was just like, okay, screw this. You only let me have it for like $50 as a jacket, for God's sake. So I ended up scrapping it. And my GM at the time, he's like, yeah, Shucks, I got this whole Santa costume in my basement you can swear. I'm like, you should have said that at the beginning. Like,
I didn't have to do the runaround with fucking Sparkles, the shit-eating clown.
I didn't have to get into this business deal with Sparkles that just completely went south. Yeah. So the moral of the story is don't ever do business with clowns because it just doesn't end well.
It doesn't sound like it would. Fuck that guy. Fucking Sparkles.
Yeah.
Jesus
it was
Christ.
Yeah, it was a I don't know why he
You should have backed out of the deal when he had to go call his mom about the Santa jacket.
Well, and
That just seems like bad news bears to me.
I think I wanted to, but like my boss had worked with this guy in the past and was like, yeah, he'll hook us up and whatever. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know him, but whatever. I'll vibe with you. But yeah, he just, and like a lot of the time too, it was really funny. A lot of the times I was back and forth calling him, he wouldn't be at his office. Like he wouldn't be at his shop. And I'm like,
Right.
well, where the hell is he? And I'm like, shucks on the phone. And he's like, well, he's at an appearance at his school. I'm like, I do like 100 appearances in a season. Like, how the fuck is this guy on appearances every day? Like this clown would just go to random appearances like every day. It was bizarre. I don't know how he booked so many. Like
Clearly he's good at selling his character. Clearly.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd like him as a person because he sounds like a dick. But
yeah, he kind of was. Yeah,
but he sounds like a good salesman.
yeah.
No lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he had so many appearances. Like, and his wife, yep, he's out in appearance today. You're gonna have to call him back. I'm like, I got a game to play. Like, what the fuck? Like,
God,
yeah.
Maybe I need to get into the clown business. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know. There was another clown that season that I worked with actually, and this guy was something else. So I actually ran into two clowns. um, so the second clown, so when I was in Peoria in 2015 with Homer and then in Cedar Rapids 2016, both of those years, those teams hosted the All-Star game. So of course, an All-Star game, all the players come from all the different teams, like, and then participate in like a home run derby and then the game. It's a lot of fun. It's cool, even in the minor leagues, because there's a whole weekend planned and different stuff going on and whatever. My first year in Peoria, the idea was, let's try to invite all the mascots, because that's a thing in all major league sports that all mascots come to each All-Star game. And it's kind of a cool interactive thing for the kids and families and whatever.
Right.
And in Peoria, they just didn't want to do it. They were like, nah, they just kind of blew it off. It was really weird. And it was like, okay, whatever. And then in Cedar Rapids, it was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's invite everybody. So everybody got invited, all the teams, and pretty much most of them showed up. I think there was a couple of them that didn't. And one of the guys, he was from the Clinton Lumberjacks, it was called, this team. Or Lumber Kings, I'm sorry. Clinton Lumber Kings was the team name. I don't know if the team's still in existence or not. This was like 2016. And this guy he literally just wore like a baseball costume. Like it was just him in a baseball costume and this big head that was like, almost looked like the Burger King, like head, the Burger King. That's kind of what it looked like, but this big goofy head. And he would and then he didn't wear like actual, like cartoon gloves. He would just wear baseball gloves, like Franklin baseball gloves. And he was kind of an ass. Like he would like run around, like he was at the All-Star game and he would run around like he was on like crack or something. Like he wasn't really being a character. He's just running around like an idiot kind of, and just all over the place.
He might have actually been on crack. We don't know.
He might have been. And it's like, God, this guy's a clown. Like, what the hell is going on? Sure enough, we find out that he actually is a clown when he, in Clinton, Iowa, along with being the mascot, he was actually a clown on the side. So yeah, I didn't talk to him much at the All-Star game. He was a goof, and he kind of was being an ass to my boss and stuff at the time. So it's like at that game, and it was just like, all right. So yeah, I guess after Iowa, I was like, don't work with clowns because it's not going to end well.
Fucking clowns, man. Shady motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Was the All-Star game where, is that where you met that, what is it? The mattress guy? Oh, I can't remember his name.
The mattress guy was in Peoria, and that was
okay.
That was at an appearance. It was at a brewery appearance, and it was like a race. And whenever being a mascot too, you tend to have an ego. As you get older doing it, and after years of doing it, it's like get more have more humble and gratitude about it. But young performers that are mascots tend to have a big ego. But that's just comes with the nature, right? When everybody wants to take pictures with you and thinks you're the shit, it's easy to be like, yeah, I am the shit. So
right.
So this mattress guy, we're at Peoria Brewing Company and we did this appearance, and I'm like, and we finished it and whatever. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna go in there and try some beers because I'd never tried this place before and just wanted to pop off. And this guy he passes me as I'm walking back in there. He's like, yeah, man, you about to have some beers? I'm like, hell yeah, man. He's like, fuck yeah, man, let's go. So then I'm like, that guy's cool. And I knew he was the mattress because he was carrying his mattress thing out. And so a month later, I had my birthday party, like a mascot birthday party. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to invite this guy. And he was from a mattress company in Peoria. And I reached out to him. I was like, yeah, can your mattress come? He's like, yeah. And he came and he was kind of crazy. Like he was like I was on the concourse, like talking to kids and stuff and kind of the costume, like a mattress with a smiley face, like literally just talking straight up to the kids, which isn't like a no as a mascot. You're not supposed to say anything. But this dude just didn't care. He was just, yeah, he was kind of wild. And I ended up buying like a birthday cake as a skit too. That was kind of cool. And blew out like birthday candles. And he I think he like had the cake and then he just bailed. I don't even think he said anything, dipped. And after that, like was there for like 3 innings and then left, if I remember right. It was really bizarre. Like, I don't remember like, saying, hey, thank you for coming out or whatever. I think he just like left. Like,
the whole thing sounds bizarre. Just, and not in a bad way, but just mascotting in general. Like living that life just seems so wild to me. Yeah. Like, because it doesn't seem very regimented. Like, it doesn't seem like a wake up, go to work, do your job, come home from work, drink your beers, go to sleep kind of job. I don't know.
No, there's a lot of different schedules with it. I mean, in Iowa, when I was in Cedar Rapids, that was very routine where I'd wake up at like 7:30, head to the ballpark, throw on the costume right away, jump in the van, head to like 3 different schools, do a school show. We read a book and did this whole like act, and then come back, do like office stuff, and then play a game. And it was like a 14-hour day. You'd be done by like 11, and then wake up and do it again at like 7 a.m. And that was how those homestands went. It was definitely intense, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely it wasn't a set schedule, I would say, because their games were played at different times. You had different appearances. You had to deal with different stuff like clowns and, all that kind, different shit. So.
Yeah. Shitty people, I would imagine.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. Mm-hmm. The people I worked with these teams over the years, for the most part, they weren't shitty people. It was just some of the people outside, like these other contract, like the clowns and some of these other people were shitty, but,
yeah.
I guess that's this kind of nature of the business or nature of life in a way, but.
Oh yeah, for sure. You want to touch on Dave Raymond at all?
Yeah. Let me talk about the Bears next, and then we'll go into Raymond, because that'll lead right into Raymond.
Cool.
So
nice little segue.
Yeah, it'll be the perfect segue. So basically, the next step after Iowa was, in that summer, I interviewed to be with the Bears, and he was looking for a mascot coordinator. I was like, holy shit, it's the Chicago Bears. I've been watching them since I was a kid. Devin Hester, the whole thing. I'm like,
right,
dude. it's like if you were like the Bengals mascot or something.
Oh yeah, like, I would murder somebody. I would murder somebody to do that.
Yeah. So like I interviewed with them, and it was basically to be like an MC at his school shows was the job, which I didn't have a ton of experience at all in. Excuse me. But I was just like, okay, well, I was like, but I had a good vibe with them, and I like related with them real well. It was like, we talked for like a half hour, 45 minutes about sports and everything. Just, you just connect right away. It's one of those kind of interviews, and ended up working for him in the fall after the Shucks thing, Cedar Rapids and all that. And because how that ended was like, they were in the playoffs and they were 1 game away from the championship, the final round. And then they lost to the Clinton Lumber Kings, that clown guy, unfortunately. and it was bizarre, man. That was it. Literally the next day, it was, here, give me back your ballpark key, take all your stuff, and that's it. And literally, I moved out of the host family house, like literally that next night, and that was it.
Wow.
It was a quick turnaround, and it was really bizarre how it ended, but it was just like, that's it, and ended like that. So the Bears, like I ended up moving back to Dixon, and then like I worked for the Bears for a little bit, but I didn't do the MC thing at first. I like was a backup for him on appearances, but I didn't do like a ton of appearances. I only did like a couple. So at the time I was doing that in Chicago Steel, and the Chicago Steel was this team. It's like a collegiate hockey team, and they're by the King County Cougars in like St. Charles. And their character's name is Rusty. And he's also a dog. He's like a bulldog. But this was a character where like I'd go in there and perform games, and they paid me like $80 a game or whatever. And like they'd have me change in a suite, and like fans would walk by the suite. So I'm like literally changing, put on the head, and they're watching me do it. And all these kids would like stand there and watch me do it. It was so bizarre. And like talk about like not being in character and not being able to try to like get into the groove. It was like, dude, like this is rough. And I would always like every character, I'd always try to create like mannerisms, like consistency, like something you would always do, right? Like, so like, oh, I would like pat my hand on my side or something so you would recognize the character. This character, Rusty at the Steel, I would itch myself all the time like he had fleas. And they're like, why are you itching yourself? Why are you always itching yourself? Do you have fleas? I'm like, yep.
Because I'm a dog, you little shit.
Yep. So, yeah. And so it was doing that. I did the bear stuff for a little bit. I did this other character too, one game called Hubert, and he was a lion, and he was with BMO Harris Bank, the BMO Harris Bank Lion. Yeah. I don't know if you know that character. Yeah. I do. So they actually have a mask.
BMO Harris is like a big sponsor of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. So they actually have a mascot costume for this character. And the guy that he was looking for a performer to do it. And the guy at the Bears and the guy at the Hawks too, like I'd been in connection with all these guys, of course, the Bears and the Hawks and all that. And they're like, yeah, he'll do, he'll probably would like the opportunity. So they wanted somebody to walk around like the 300 level at the United Center for the Bulls game. And they paid like $50. And I was like, okay, shit, I'll do it, just to get some money and try to get some connects, that kind of thing. And try to just get some work, really. And this is where it was like, you're on for 6 months and then you're just dead for 6 months. You're just trying to make some cash and try to stay in it too. And I went there and I put it on and did my thing or whatever. And it was the Bulls game where D Rose and Noah first came back to the United Center and had been traded to the Knicks. So it was only $50. I was living in Dixon. So I talked to the contact. I was like, dude, can you get me like a ticket to the Bulls game just to sweeten the pot? Cause I was like, I'm coming all the way out here, United Center. $50 is literally just going to be my gas or most of it, Right. So like they ended up giving me a ticket on like the 100 level, which was pretty sweet. But instead of giving me just like $50 cash or just like a bank card or I don't know, whatever, they gave me 5 $10 bank cards. That was my payment. Yeah. And he's like, here you go.
What kind of scam are they running?
Here you go. Here's laid out like 5 of these bank cards. And I'm like, huh. Like, yeah, you could, and of course I don't have a BMO Harrison Dixon. So like, how am I going to get this money? I was like, okay, so like, whatever. I basically took the Bulls ticket and watched the game and like used it on beer that night. And I think food, if I remember right, but I never went back to that after that. That was a one and done appearance. I got paid in like 10 bank cards, $10 bank cards, 5 $10 bank cards. I was like, whoa. But
that sounds awful.
But yeah, it was like trying to meet ends meet during that time. That was rough. And like the Bears, I did some stuff for, but he didn't have enough work. You know what I mean? Like he's the main guy. He's doing school appearances every day, whatever, what have you. And actually, so the segue into the guy, Dave Raymond, who's on our list, my first encounter with him was via email. So that summer when I was in Iowa and then going into the Bears, the Chicago Bulls were looking for a new Benny the Bull. And Dave Raymond was a guy who was kind of like a liaison for certain teams. Like he had a lot of connects and was almost like a consultant where he'd come in and hire for these teams. I think he still kind of is. And he would also hold a mascot camp every year out in like Pennsylvania. And it was like $400 or $500. And it was like for a weekend. And it was kind of a lot of money because it was that plus you had to put up your own housing and food and stuff for that weekend. So if your team's not paying for it out of your pocket, it's like, damn, that's some cash for, mascot training. Right. So this guy would like kind of get into like different teams and stuff. And he was the one running Benny the Bull, the interviews. So of course it's Benny. I'm like, I'm throwing my submission in, I'm at this point, I'm like, I was kind of like in with the Bears a little bit. I had done the Cedar Rapids job and all that. I'm like, okay, I kind of got some momentum going. And yeah, I got a Dear John, I think after that. That was a lot of them over the years. But he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, come out to my mascot camp and blah, 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 and this and that. Of course, it's like, $400 plus whatever. But,
Yeah.
I guess money's money. But yeah, there was always a weird thing with that guy. I felt like, over the years, because he was always a consultant with like all these teams, but it always seemed like he just kind of like got in there somehow and just kind of sneaked in there a little bit. And it's like, this is like, and he used to be the old Philly fanatic. That's kind of where his claim to fame comes from.
Gotcha.
And then he became this consultant and then has this business now and on LinkedIn and whatever. And yeah, it was, I don't know. It just didn't feel right. You know what I mean? And like, he did it with
seems kind of shady. Seems kind of shady, like getting people to like submit applications only to redirect them to his profit building enterprise.
Yeah, it was kind of like that almost, because then it was like that's what it kind of felt like, because it was like, yeah, you didn't get the job, but come to my mascot camp and we'll train you. And at first, at face value, it's like, oh, okay, great, yeah, I'll do it. And then
yeah,
you look at the price tag and it's like shit. Like
making $50 an appearance. That's going to take 8 appearances just to afford it, not to mention travel expenses and food and all that shit.
Right. And most minor league teams, like a lot of those teams don't have budget for that shit. They barely have budget for like a fucking, costume on a theme night, let alone
right.
like a mascot camp. Yeah.
Oh God.
But one of the things that was cool in the Steel days was with that Rusty character was I did perform a Monday Night Football.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was cool. Because at the time I got hired with the Bears, and the mascot manager there was like, hey man, you want to bring out your character, this Steel guy? And I'm having my mascot night on Monday Night Football when they play the Vikings. And this was like 2016. The Bears sucked that year though. They only had like 4 wins or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was cool because it was all the Chicago guys, like Clark the Cub, like Southpaw, Benny, all these guys. And then it was like the guy from the Eagles, Victor Viking, the Vikings guy was there. I want to say I think there was a few other NFL guys. I can't remember. I remember the Eagles guy being there though. He was definitely definitely a character for sure. But yeah, it was kind of cool. It was kind of different. And there was like, literally, it was just like a walk around, did like an autograph session, and then go on the field and throw some t-shirts on Soldier Field. And that was it. But it was kind of cool to be on like Monday Night Football and be there.
Yeah, for sure. Especially out on the field too. That's gotta be awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was definitely a cool experience. But
even with the shitty grass.
Yeah, with the shitty grass, and that's like I said, at the time they were just bad. I think the Vikings ended up winning that game too. But yeah, that was a year that happened, and then I did an appearance at Jewel Osco with Akeem Hicks. That was kind of cool. He did like a signing. Yeah, he did a signing session, and then I was just there. I was just a backup for him, and he's just like, "Hey, you want to do this appearance?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he was there, and I don't know. I kept the 100 with him. He was a cool guy. He was nice and stuff. Yeah. But once again, this was like 16 when they weren't any good. So, so I was like, okay, whatever. But it was still pretty cool.
That's awesome. Shit. Let's see. We got mascot versus kids. We got, let's see, cleaning the suit, business deal with a clown, big games, playoffs, all-stars, skits with Star Wars characters, dances with Cinderella. No one ever knew my name. Up to you.
Yeah, those were all in the Peoria days. The Star Wars skits and the skits with Cinderella. The skit with Cinderella was like, we had a Princess Day at the ballpark, and it was like Cinderella and Princess Jasmine and like Pocahontas and stuff. And it was like, all like families would come out and stuff and do photo ops and whatever. So my first year in Peoria as Homer, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna dance with Cinderella. And me being like the Disney nerd, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna grab a song, a song from Cinderella from like the movie from the '50s, like from like the old one.
Right.
Well, lo and behold, they played a song from like the Princess Diaries from like 2001, so it was a little off. And I like rolled up to Cinderella, and she's like, I'm like, hey, we're gonna air, like my escort was with me, and they're like, yeah, Homer wants to do something with you. And we go,
Oh,
we
does
walk,
he?
we walk down to the field and go onto the field, and they play the music, and it's not very loud. And I just start trying to dance with this lady, and she's like, what are we doing? I'm like, just like follow my lead. we just started like kind of dancing. It was really kind of awkward, and I don't even think people knew what the hell was going on, but it was like,
What's that dog and Cinderella doing in the middle of the field? I think
yeah,
dancing.
yeah, and like you could barely hear the music, and I don't know, it wasn't the right song, so I was already like on edge. I was like, damn it, they didn't play the right song. It's
God.
like, damn. But yeah, that was it for me. It was cool because I'm like, being a Disney freak, I was like, oh yes, I get to dance with Cinderella. This is sick. But
Right.
she didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was just like, I was trying to be cool, but it wasn't happening.
Oh
But
man.
the Star Wars skits over the years, I ended up doing. I think I did like two or three of them. I did one in Iowa, and or I don't know if I did one in Iowa. I know I did two in Peoria because there's this group called the 501 Midwest Garrison, and it's this
Yep.
huge group of people that just dress up like Star Wars characters.
Yep.
And they do everything from baseball games, parades, and you request them. They're awesome, dude. They're just so really nice people, and they just all like
they used them in Mandalorian, the 501st. They used those guys in Mandalorian.
Right. So baseball teams would hit them up, and they come out for like the Star Wars day. And so like every year I always dressed up like a Jedi basically. And I had like my graduation robe from college. I had this like green lightsaber from like 1996 from when I was a kid, and had that with me.
One of the sling out ones that like light up and you can sling it out.
Where it's like, yep. Not like the ones today. This was old school. And
yeah, right.
So yeah, I would go up to them over the years, like the games they come out. I was like, hey guys, I want to do a skit. They're like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm dealer's choice. They're like, okay, cool, we're gonna do this. They would script out a whole thing. It was so cool. Like at one year, it was like one of the skits was like the Empire catched me or whatever, and like they bring me up to Darth Vader, and then Vader's like, I don't want him, let him go. And then like I ran away free or whatever, and like a goofball and stuff, and the dog. Awesome. It was pretty awesome. Cool.
That'd be my favorite day as a mascot.
Yeah, it was for me too.
Star Wars characters, that'd be great.
Yeah, because it's like you're actually like in Star Wars kind of thing. And my last stint when I was in Arlington, the racetrack, we had a Star Wars day like that too. And that's kind of the next part of the story here. But we had a day where the Star Wars characters, it wasn't 501, but it was just these other characters they hired, and these guys dressed up, and it was the family fun day at the racetrack. And these guys did like a Star Wars, like a lightsaber training class. They're like, okay, this is how you wield your lightsaber. And I'm in the horse costume, and I'm doing it with them with my lightsaber. And in my head, I'm like, this is the coolest day ever. Like, I'm learning how to be a Jedi. This is amazing.
Like, yes.
Yes. Like, and like just as a horse, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. Like,
I might be a horse, but I am learning how to be a Jedi.
I'm gonna be a Jedi someday.
Oh man. Yeah, I would kill somebody to do that too. Yeah, I think I would. I think I would commit murder for that.
Yeah, that was a good one. The Star Wars day was always fun. That was like running with those guys was awesome, because it was always like, because they'd always have a skit in mind. Even if you didn't, I was like, maybe I was thinking this or whatever. They're like, no, let's do this, this, and this. I'm like, that sounds awesome. Let's do it. But they probably live and breathe Star Wars, so it's like
Yeah, for sure. They had the 501st had like a big, at least the West Coast one, my daughter's first birthday. We had it at a Jake's Pizza in Northern California, but they had like a 501st get together while we were there. And my wife actually like made a reservation so that we'd have a spot. And then all these people came in their stormtrooper like uniforms, like in their stormtrooper gear. And Leah's like, I can't believe this. I can't believe they said that there wasn't really going to be anybody here, and they showed up. And I was like, what are you talking about? This is the coolest shit ever. No, how is this bullshit? There's just stormtroopers everywhere. This is great.
Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah. And it was weird too. It was funny because the stormtroopers and some of those characters, they couldn't see very well in their helmets. So like we had to have people like escort them down the steps of the ballpark because they would have fell. Like it would have been a whole thing. But yeah, those days were just like, it was really cool. Like that, and like even like the Cinderella thing, that was just being the nerd in me or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, some of those skits of doing those over the years were definitely one to remember. But,
oh yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
To me, who's not a very normal person. But it sounds awesome to me anyway. I don't know about the audience, but it does sound cool to me.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely different. But yeah, but yeah, after all that, I mean, my last real stint was Arlington, and it was the horse at Arlington Racetrack. And literally what happened was it was like during the Bears and that Chicago Steel stuff and whatever. And I was just like making money and just wherever I could and whatever. I was working for my uncle at the time and stuff, just trying to make some cash. And then ended up moving. That's when I moved to Chicago and moved into my granny's place. My granny was like in a home at the time or whatever. And the guy who was the mask that ran the entertainment, like the entertainment coordinator at Arlington, happened to went to school with me at Bradley, and he was Kaboom when I was Kaboom. We were the originals. So this is the same guy. So I applied for it online, and I was like, whatever, let's just see. I don't know what this is going to be. He hit me up on Facebook. He's like, yeah, you want to be it? You're hired, basically. I know what whatever. I'm like, okay, bet, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I came in this character, and this was a place that was really like high end. Like I had to wear like a full suit every day to work. Even though I was performing and stuff, I still had to come in full shirt and tie, black pants, and 9. Yeah. And they had really weird rules at the racetrack. Like you couldn't have your phone out in office hours. So like one of the first days, I'm like texting people because I'm trying to like hit up other mascots or trying to make, stuff happen for the character. And they'd be like, the GM would walk by and he's like, what are you doing with your phone out? You got to put your phone away. And I was like, whoa, okay. It's bizarre.
What is this, a restaurant? I can't have my phone out.
a lot of weird like things. But the beginning, like nobody cared about this character. Nobody really knew who he was. Like I'd put on the costume and walk around and like, they'd be like, hey, Arlington, what's going on? Arlington, hey, horsey. I'm like, oh no, dude, nobody knows this guy's name. Mind you, I came from like, at this point, it was like, I came from the Bears. I was doing stuff with them. I was from Iowa, the Peoria days. Like, I was like, had come in with a lot of experience at this point, or a good amount. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to try my best to take this over. So like Arlington had the same thing as like the baseball and all these places where there was promotions every single weekend. So but they would do a lot of marketing things. So they'd have vendors come in, like Sundays was their family days where there's pony rides and, like maybe a kids show or whatever. And then every like Fridays and Saturdays, like there would be different themes. So like, and different vendors, so, like there'd be a Chicago Bears day, there'd be a Northwestern day, like a beach day, a 90s night, 80s night, that kind of stuff, right? All across the board.
Right.
So took it over, started doing this, and just kind of went all out. And I was kind of like part-time, like marketing too. So like I'd have to like sit at a table and like collect tickets and shit like that. And like, I don't know, I used to have to do this thing on Fridays where it was like, you had to run I used to have to run like a bags tournament and stuff, which was kind of whatever. and like do this thing called like the pool party where people would make bets on horses and like they bet like the pool of what like the announcer would bet and stuff. And if they won, they won X amount of money. And it was, I don't know. And a lot of times people would ask me like, oh, how should I bet on this horse? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like,
I'm just the mascot, man.
The mascot. I don't know. I had no clue. But one of the days, there was a couple of like kind of interesting days. Like we had this comic book day, basically like superhero day. And in Cedar Rapids in Iowa, I had this idea of turning the Mr. Shucks into Spider-Man and having them spray like silly string but I couldn't get it together in enough time. So I ended up doing like a Hulk costume and cut up a t-shirt and like had bought Hulk hands like from Toys R Us and shit at the time. And it was all right. One of the ball players made fun of me for it. I was like doing a promo. He's like, yeah, it looks like you made that at Goodwill or some shit. He was like talking crap to me in the dugout. I was like, I should have.
Yeah, because I fucking did, asshole.
I did. Yeah. I should have like Hulk smashed him or something. Like,
fuck you. You're playing AA ball. Get out of my face, dude.
Single A. Yeah. Low A.
God damn.
But yeah, the Arlington, I ended up doing a Spider-Man costume, and I looked up online of how to do it and went to Hobby Lobby, bought the fabric, bought like this like black like paint basically to make the mask and everything. And I did a full like body suit and I sewed it by hand, which was nuts. And people were looking at me in the office. Like I do this in the office, like in front of everybody in my full suit, like this.
You just sitting there stitching like
away. Shirt and tie, like stitching this thing away. And they'd be like, oh my God, do you need help? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it was like, in theory, there was even one day like before this event happened on the Family Fun Day where I bought silly string and I'm like, okay, there's a way where I could shoot this where it works. And me and another old friend of mine, that was an intern, we decided to put like a spoon, like a, plastic spoon and like tape it to like, it was a weird way we did it, but you basically press the spoon and it would like spit out silly string. Didn't really work too well. And like it worked like for one can and that was it. And then and I remember I put on the suit and I sewed it too tight. So it was like basically falling apart on me. I don't even think I have pictures of it anymore. I think I took like one picture and then it just got deleted and it just looked
that's a shame because I want that on the screen right now.
Yeah. It was yeah, that one didn't work out too well. It like the mask was really cool. Like I put the mask on the horse like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was cool. The body part was super hard to sew. Because granted, I was doing it by hand, which was really fucked up to do. But like why I thought to do it all by hand, I don't know. But that was crazy. I was like
desperate times, desperate measures.
But by that point with that character, that was when people started to kind of really notice and like take like, like, damn, this dude's got some like swag or whatever. And It was actually around this time, like 3-4 years ago now, we had this day. It was actually on my birthday. It was called Singles Day. And it was by this company called like Events and Adventures. And they do like different like things for singles around like Chicagoland. I think they're around the country too, like different like activities and stuff to meet like people and date and whatever. And they had it at the racetrack. And of course, so it was like Single Day, and I dressed up like Hugh Hefner because I still had this red bathrobe from like the Mickey Mouse costume and stuff. So I wore that. I bought this like hook pipe from like Party City for like a few bucks, and just like looked like Hugh Hefner and like had black pants on, the whole thing. Right. And it was funny as hell. Like I rolled out there and like it was like a handful of people. There's like these dudes that have like 6-packs and they're just looking to get laid basically at this thing. and it was really funny. I remember there was this one girl that was just like not having any luck. And I was just like in the horse costume, just trying to consult her and make her feel better. and she was,
did it work?
No, it didn't. She was so depressed. She was like, yeah, I know. Like, I don't know. I mean, she was all right. She was all right. I mean,
she's a 6, but she likes the horse costume. 10.
Yeah, 10. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's what it was. And I remember like I was walking, I was just doing my rounds and whatever. And then people were starting to drink because you got drink tickets and whatever. It's a whole package. So, you're just getting lit at the racetrack. And there was these two ladies that were in there. And all these dudes that with like the 6-packs and were whatever, they're trying to vibe with this one lady's friend. And she was pretty all right. She was an older lady, but she was pretty good looking. And of course, they're just drunk, her and her friend and just whatever. And then, and then the other friend's like rolling up on me in the horse costume. And she's like, and of course, she's like, how old are you? How old are you? Like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And I told her it was like my birthday. I was like 26 at the time. Yeah, I think 25, 26. And I was like, yeah, it's this old. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I think that's good enough. Like, and
Oh
I
my
was
God.
so yeah. So I think she gave me her number while I was in the horse costume, like while I was performing. I didn't talk or
Mhm.
nothing. He used to back when I was in college and stuff to like slide with girls, especially at Bradley. Like I would talk in that kaboom costume, the gargoyle. Cause I would
Right.
like, I'd roll up and do my thing, like goofy mannerism. They'd be like, oh my God. And then I would start talking to them and it'd be really creepy, but like whatever.
You gotta
I
shoot
was
your
trying to,
shot, man. Shoot your shot.
I was shooting shots all over the place. So I was like, whatever, like I'm gonna do it. But yeah, this lady at the racetrack, she gave me her number. It was like my birthday and stuff. And I was like, holy shit, I got a number. That was a first. Never had that happen before. And like she was older, but I was like, whatever. And then I tried to after I got done and all that, I tried to text her and I didn't get a response. So I was like, okay, whatever. I don't even remember what the hell I said. I think I said, yeah, I'm the guy in the horse costume or something. Like,
Hey,
you want to hang out?
It's Arlington from the racetrack, that guy in the horse costume. Like I can bring the costume or I can leave it. It's kind of up to you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want me to wear the head, I can. I mean, I don't mind. But yeah, I was
Oh,
like, yeah, I'm at the horse, and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings that night just to have a couple beers. Like, yeah, I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings right now. Like, trying to get some wings and the beer. I got the costume in my car if you want me to wear it.
oh man. Oh, that could have been a match made in heaven. You never know, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe, maybe.
She might have been too old for me, but
Age is just a number. As long
yeah.
as you're over 18, then it's just a number if you're over 18.
Well, and I think that's what she was looking at. She's like, okay, he's over 18, so I guess that's okay. So, yeah,
If you're old enough to wear a horse costume, you're old enough to ride.
right, yeah, literally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there was some fun. I mean, there was some stuff like that that went down, and then I did some appearances too. Like we had a lot of like Brookfield Zoo was a thing too. Like we go to Brookfield Zoo a lot, so like go do
Yep.
stuff there, and like we did I would do mascot birthdays, like Sky Guys game, like the Chicago Sky. Like I did that game once,
Mhm.
and we we're on the court and we're doing a couple of these promos. Like Benny the Bull was there, and this is a new guy that got hired from the Dave Raymond stuff and everything. Nice kid,
Yeah.
nice dude. He's like around my age, whatever. And him and his handler were like out there running around like it's Benny the Bull, like, oh my God, he's the best. And me and my buddy Skates were like, fuck him, whatever. like, like we don't care. Like, so this dude, his assistant or whatever, his handler, he got in a fight with one of the security guards at the game and got up in
Yep.
his face and they're about to brawl. And Benny's like pushing him like in costume, like go to the car, go to the car, go to the car. Literally just walked out of the arena.
No
Like,
shit.
and me and my buddy Skates are looking at each other from the Wolves. We're like, damn, like that just happened.
Gets
We did
dicey.
this. Yeah, it was spicy. We did this other game where how we did like in the past, I had those all-star games or whatever. Well, the baseball team in Joliet, the Slammers, they also had a all-star game that year for their like league or whatever, but they weren't the most
Mhm.
organized team. So we went down there and they were like, okay, all the mascots go out in the outfield with all the kids and catch the balls. We're like, what are you talking about? And the players are all popping like it's like a home run derby. Like all the players are hitting home runs. So they're going in the outfield. We can't see very well. And there's these balls just flying everywhere in the outfield. We're like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing out here? And then my buddy Skates is with me from the Wolves, and he gets hit in the baseball in the leg. He's like, he got hit in the leg, and he went down on the field. I'm like, holy crap, you okay, Skates? And I'm in my horse costume. I'm like, we got to get out of here. Like,
It's like a war zone.
it's like a war zone. I think we just walked out the field after that. Like, why are they making us do this? What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. And never going back to that place ever again after that. That was bad.
God dang.